Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Euro 2024. Jabez, how are you?
I'm okay, Clayton. You got to introduce yourself, mate.
I've got to introduce myself. I'm Clayton. Yeah, I forgot to do that. I'm.
You thought you
I,
nailed that, didn't you? Well,
I
you
thought I
didn't.
did think I nailed that. Yeah,
You meant to go,
90%
my name's
done.
Clayton. No, you
So
you you ruined it, mate.
it's been a week or so since I've been on. So Euro fantasy update from me. It's going all right. It's going all right. Well, for me, I'm happy. I'm 80k at the minute overall, which I would take at this stage personally. Just I'm on limitless in this match day. That's not going so well. 29 points so far, but I've still not had a captaincy return this tournament.
Great. But who did you end up on last match day then?
Who was the final
Didn't
one
end up on
last
like
match?
Ronaldo or
It
Lukaku at the
that
end,
was it.
or
It was Bruno Fernandes.
he
Yeah.
scored.
Sorry, it was Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah.
He assisted.
Yeah, but it's not really a
Yeah,
okay.
you
I
take
wanted a
that.
haul. I wanted a haul. So
Yeah, well,
yeah,
most of us didn't get it because most people kept missing and landed on Ronaldo or Lukaku at the end. There was plenty who had some good differentials in the meantime, as say I did with Jude Bellingham in match day one.
yeah.
So
How are you getting on?
where's your 29 points come from then? I think that's all right this week at the moment, mate. By the way,
Yeah, so I had Donnarumma last night. So at one point when he saved the penalty, I was thinking, oh, here we go. On for a huge haul here, but can't complain with 8 points there. I had Grimaldo's clean sheet in. And then it's just been lots of twos and threes other than that. Got two from Musiala and Verts and three from Havertz and the Spanish bloke who I can't pronounce his name, Oyarzabal, um, last night with a three-pointer in there as well. So yeah, I've still got three Portuguese players on the bench to come in tomorrow. I've got two from England tonight. Got Van Dijk, Theo Hernandez, and Romelu Lukaku. So still quite a lot to go.
Theo Hernandez. Sure, that's not Teo Walcott. Or yeah, I don't. That's not terrible this week. I think the big difference in the scores so far this week will be if anyone gambled on any of the Spanish last night
Yeah.
and whether they hit it or not. So I also went Donnarumma. I also went Grimaldo. I also went Orazabal. The reason I've got more than you and on 34 at the moment is I also went with Ferran Torres, who
Nice.
scored. And I didn't watch a lot of the Spain game, and I didn't think it was worthwhile to change the whole team. But he also picked up the man of the match, which pretty much everybody who's watched the game was like, yeah, Danny Olmo's definitely getting man of the match here. No, Ferran Torres got it. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe whoever gave man of the match in that game wasn't watching it either. Well, actually, the man of matches, I feel like this. That's the first time people have gone, oh, that's
I
controversial.
was just gonna say that. It feels like they've
Yeah,
nailed it most
it doesn't
games this
feel like
tournament.
they've gone, oh, he scored, give it to him or whatever. That Kante's had man of the match in both of France's games, hasn't he? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's not proved too controversial so far. That one maybe a little bit, but I benefited. So guess what? I don't
You
care.
don't care.
No, I also had three blanking Germans as covered yesterday. So I'm on 34 for the week. Jumped me massively. I'm up to 7,700
Wow.
today now. And I think mainly because of those three differentials, Donnarumma, Grimaldo, and Ferran Torres. But then, like you said, you've got three Portuguese to come in. I mean, I haven't. I
Yeah.
haven't got
Okay.
any of them. I'll have three Belgians coming in for me. I've got four tonight. I'm obviously not using Mike Mannion now. There's no way I'm shoving Donnarumma as eight. That's
No.
a definite, there's no gamble there. I've got Teo Hernandez, Clates, and I've got Treble England tonight, Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, Mark Gay. Um, I didn't gamble on Portugal because I'm not really sure where
Yeah.
we're at. And as Callan correctly pointed out yesterday as well, obviously they're the later kickoff tomorrow as well, which is a little bit scary. I suspect by then we'll have an idea of if it's first team or mixed team like
Yeah.
Spain. I mean, Spain was a completely rotated.
Which with
Are you
the
captain tonight then?
I think I'm gonna go Saka. Out of the options I've got, he's the only offensive one I've got playing tonight, so it makes sense to go for him
So
out
what
of who
England
I've
did you
got.
go? Saka and
And Kyle Walker and Pickford on the bench, but I'm not gonna twist
that's
my
I'm
keepers.
limitless. You didn't go with Kane or Bellingham.
No, I think it was just when I looked at the strikers, I didn't really think of the price things. I wanted Havertz, I wanted Lukaku, and I wanted Ronaldo against Georgia, more than I wanted Kane against Slovenia. I hope I'm wrong on that. So yeah, that was kind of where I landed on it. Probably not the best use of the chip in terms of the price, but I literally went for I think Saka will score more points than Bellingham, and I think those three strikers will score more points than Kane. So yeah, like I said, I hope I'm wrong.
I'm going to go Jude tonight. I think I don't
Okay.
see it. On what we've seen so far, there's nothing to sit here and thinking, and they're going to go and win 4-0. So I
Yeah.
feel like if Harry scores once and Jude scores once, then Jude's going to outscore him on that basis, most likely. He
Yeah.
also feels more likely to pick up a man of match at the moment as well. And you've obviously got the increase of recoveries and the extra point for a possible clean sheet as well. So I think on the one off tonight, sure, Harry could shut everyone up and get a hat trick, and I very much hope he does. But yeah, I'll captain Jude tonight out of the two. Um, we will come back and talk a little bit of England. Last night's games, obviously, first and foremost, I did not watch, as said, much of Albania and Spain
Yeah. Me either.
last night, and I didn't think it was particularly worthwhile because it's obviously come up very clear that that was a completely rotated team. The word I've generally had from people is that Spain's second team dealt with Albania better than Italy or Croatia did.
Wow.
Um, and the statistics tend to bear that out. Armando Broja had a really good chance, well saved by your boy David Raya near the end, actually, Clates. But it seems otherwise Spain were pretty comfortable. Albania's XG under 0.5. I think we could say Albania acquitted themselves pretty well,
Yeah.
considering the group that they landed in.
Definitely.
I don't think they've lost by a single goal to Spain and Italy, and obviously got a draw against Croatia as well. So I think they're a progressive country. They qualified really well, really unlucky with the draw. They'll feel like they can go again for the World Cup and will be better
Yeah.
for the experience. For Spain, I
Impressive
don't
from them.
I don't think I think probably the conversation is, was there anything last night that's now going to throw a spanner in the Spanish team for the last 16 game? As I said, word was that Dani Olmo played really well. Pretty much everybody was saying that. Torres has obviously scored, but I can't see, if I think of the front three, Hossel who played instead of Morata, no.
Yeah.
Arazabal and Torres instead of that dynamic duo of Williams and Lamine Yamal, no.
No.
A lot of people, saying good things about Grimaldo and his chance creation last night,
Cucurella has been
which I
very
guess
good.
a lot of people on Limitless gambled on Grimaldo for
Yeah.
exactly this reason. So he played really well. I think Mark Cucurella played really well for Spain in the first two games as
Me
well.
too.
Laporte was the only one who played in the second game, but then he came off at half time as well. So I don't think that there's anything from last night, unless there's an injury issue, it's suddenly leapfrogged someone else to play in Spain's last 16 games. I expect it to be the team that played against Italy, bar maybe question marks on Lenormand's partner at centre back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would go
Really
back to what it
impressed.
was.
Really impressive by them. The way they just breezed through this, no dramas.
Well, to not concede a goal in that group.
Yeah, very impressive. And
Um,
I completely overlooked them. Like even watching them this tournament, I was kind of like, wow, I definitely overlooked
Yeah, I
them.
think it's things like, oh, Morata's still up front for him, and also like question marks on things like centre back particularly. So many of us in seriousness haven't seen Lenormand until before
No,
this tournament. Laporte's playing in Saudi Arabia now. There's some question marks
Cucurella's
there
mixed at
def
Chelsea.
defensively. How are they taking Jesus Navas at 38
I
rather than
know.
Pedro Porro? Can someone tell me that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Again, supposedly he equipped himself for, and yes, it is the same Jesus Navas who was flying up the wing for Manchester City with no end product like over 10 years ago. Fair game to him. Italy, Croatia last night um, ended up being fairly dramatic. It wasn't. I think from an England perspective, everybody watching the game had similar opinion, and we have no right to have this opinion at the moment. But the opinion was, I don't really mind if we play either of these. This
This
is
is where
fine
I've
at the
just not
moment.
really got to comment anything from an
Yeah.
England perspective until we do a bit better
We
ourselves.
have qualified. We can sit here and say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
safely this morning.
I mean the
Um,
aesthetics of things.
yes. With no guarantee we even ended up on that side of the draw.
Yeah,
If we draw tonight, it's very conceivable Denmark finish above us. Obviously, if we lose, we're definitely not winning the group. So there's still work to do from that perspective. The way the draw is opening up, it does feel like it's important to win the group with the
yeah.
way it stands. I mean, if France don't win that group, and they obviously play before us today, suddenly it's going to look really massive
We're
tonight, because
yeah.
you are going to look at it and go, we're shit, but we're going to be favourites to reach the final here. If
Yeah, it
France
could
don't win their
open up.
group and we do, certainly that's how the bookies will have it. So it's not
Yeah,
just
but
my opinion. That's how the bookies will have it, and we know weight and money and stuff. No one's back in England at the moment with what they've seen. But it'd only take England to win 3-0 tonight after France don't win the group, and bosh, this whole narrative. Oh, look at the draw. We got
yeah.
this, that. Oh, we got Switzerland in the quarterfinal. Switzerland will probably beat us.
I
I,
know
I,
this.
I saw Ben Crellin tweet, and I didn't particularly massively disagree with it. He said, I don't really gamble anymore, but he said, if France don't win their group, I'm going to have a little bit of Switzerland or get on the final. And that
Wow.
just
Okay.
gives you an idea of how that side of the draw is going to feel like
Yeah.
it potentially opens up. If France obviously do win their group, we still expect them to, then you'd favour them strongly, I think, to get to the final because it's so difficult to beat. That's what we've seen so far. We'll cover France again tomorrow. Yeah, the takeaway on this wasn't overly impressed with either. I think we obviously England beat Italy, and you'd have to say relatively comfortably in both games in the qualifiers, despite in the first game going down to 10 men. And what I mean by that is it was comfortable until we went down to 10 men. Luke Shaw, ironically, was sent off, and we could very much do with him right now. He's not going to play today, that's the word, but he is training. There was word at the weekend it was going home. England aren't yet, so I presume he isn't. And then even the game at Wembley, we gave him a 1-goal advantage, and we won so easy in
Yeah.
the end. So there's recent experience of that. Croatia is, as I've covered several times over, is not as strong as the team that knocked England out in 2018 or got to the semi-final in 2022 either. The first half was pony. I think Italy, quite rightly, were quite content to get to where they were with what they had. I mean, Croatia's XG was under 0.05 in the first half. They were under no duress. The one big chance and a half fell to Italy. They were pretty comfortable. Then you get this penalty incident. Think it's a penalty?
Yeah. For me, when I
Yeah,
saw it, I
agreed.
didn't
I think it's
hesitate.
one of them, certainly in UEFA competition, as soon as you see it, you'll give that,
Yeah.
definitely. And then this mad minute happens
Huh.
where Modric takes the penalty, and he's obviously a player I've obviously followed for a long time because he was obviously at Tottenham before obviously what he's achieved at Real Madrid as well and become one of the great modern day midfield players. I've never fancied him with penalties
Okay.
ever. Really haven't. He's scored plenty, but he's missed a few as well. And he do Donnarumma, he's a giant in goal, and he saved it. And I think in that minute, as a neutral fan with no real preference on who went through, you process in your mind, this is how Luka Modric, one of the great modern day players, this is how his international career is ending.
Yeah.
He's in missing a penalty that would have sent them through. And by the time you've processed it, he scored.
Yeah. I know. It was
Just
crazy.
an incredible moment. He ends up in a position that he only ends up in because he's taken the penalty.
Yeah,
Luka
it's
Modric
true.
never ends
In
up.
open play, he would never be
No,
there, would he?
not
Yeah. Good
anymore.
point.
Maybe back in the day, but not anymore. He's only ended up there because of the penalty. Um, but he stays in that area, but he doesn't stay there because he's sulking. He's not. He's like, the ball's going to come back, so I'm going to stay in around this area. And when it drops, he just senses it. Donnarumma's reaction on the goal as well, because he's
Yeah.
probably processing in this moment. Oh my God, I've saved Italy how much here? Because you think of all, obviously, at the point after Croatia score, Italy on 3 points. So now it's basically going to come down to goal difference, whether you go through or not. You think back to all them saves he made against Spain,
Yeah.
and you're thinking, oh my God, how
He
how
saved
important
him.
has he been? And after Croatia scored, you never thought Italy were going to score.
No, they did have. I think there was one more chance from a corner where Bastoni could have had two,
Estonia
to
had
be
the
fair.
header, yeah.
Yeah, but in
Um,
open play, yeah, not really.
no, despite naturally dominating the ball, Croatia made subs that suggested they were very happy with their lot. But no, it is a brilliant goal. Finished off in the end by Mattia Zakagani, who I
Yeah.
had to check where he was playing because I feel like every time I've checked who a player plays for at this tournament, they seem to be at Genoa, who have
Okay.
obviously
Is he
qualified for the
fat
chat.
Genoa?
No, he's at Lazio. But I was off where does he play for? I was half expecting to get Genoa, but the massive shout out on the goal must come to the assist of Riccardo Calafiori,
Yeah,
who's
great
a,
drive,
a,
wasn't it?
a player at centre back who I think, in all seriousness, many of us wouldn't have been familiar with coming into the tournament. He's at Bologna, by the way. It's not Genoa, it's Bologna. That's the one who's qualified for the
Okay.
Champions League. He does play for Bologna. I'm thinking of Genoa because that's where we got Radu Dragusin. Sorry, but his work on that goal is
Brilliant.
Oh, mate,
Yeah,
it's like that peak kind of Baresi, Cannavaro, Maldini, all of that rolled into one coming in there. It's because he's aggressive in the way that he steps out and carries the football team forward and takes initiative.
yeah, that's it.
Because he steps out of a line, the sort of thing that maybe doesn't happen at 0-0 earlier in the game. What an assist that is. And he looks a very good player. There's a lot of Premier
Yeah.
League interest going
Heartbreak
into
for
him.
Croatia though. Like I know they're not officially out, but it's not looking good, is it?
No, I think the first thing they need is Denmark basically to win tonight or Serbia to win massively.
Yeah,
And they also need England to win by 3 tonight. That's kind of the first point from Group D is obviously already better than them. Group E will be better than them. And then obviously relying on neither the Czechs or Georgia to do anything in Group F and the final game as well. So yeah, ironically, Croatia very much relying on England pretty much to put a score up tonight, actually, which would then give them a chance. 2%, I think I've seen, is the
wow.
probability on them getting through. So it's highly likely that they're going out. And yes, this is the end of highly likely Modric's international career. I wouldn't rule him out. Have you seen he does the presser after the game,
I've not watched it
Modric,
actually.
which you only get this with players in like international major tournaments. You don't get it in like club football. An Italian journalist asks him a question, or I think it's an Italian commentator actually, who's gone into the press afterwards, and he starts talking, and he starts mentioning the missed penalty. You're like, where are you going with this, mate? And then he says that I want to thank you. You're one of the best players I've ever been privileged to commentate on. I just want to thank you.
Oh,
And I thought
that's
it was really
lovely.
nice as well when they'd
Yeah.
obviously effectively just knocked him out with a last minute goal as well.
No,
Um,
that's lovely. Yeah,
so,
what a player.
mate, I mean,
Yeah, even me being an Arsenal fan, I can appreciate his greatness. Yeah, he was one of my favorite players from Tottenham to watch. Yeah,
he come a long way from the skinny kid. I mean, he still is quite skinny, but the skinny kid who rocked up at Tottenham and who people went, there's no way I'd be able to play in the middle of the pitch. He's too slight. Ended up there by accident because this is always the story I've told. Because Wilson Palacios got his 10th yellow card of the season in the FA Cup semi-final that we lost against Portsmouth, and then Modric was going to have to play centre midfield against Arsenal and Chelsea, and we won both games.
yeah.
And then that was it, and never take him back out of
The
there
rest
after
is
that.
history. Yeah,
And yeah, it's amazing how that can have an impact because I don't think Harry Redknapp never had any intention to put him in there. It happened by accident, and then once you'd seen it, I'm not taking him back out of there. Especially when he was often playing on the left for us, and
yeah.
Bale was just emerging at
It's
exactly
funny how
the
things
same
work
time as
out, isn't
well.
it?
Yeah, it really is actually. What a player! And went on to achieve so much at Real Madrid. He's got to be one of the most decorated footballers.
Oh yeah, basically won it all.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he has won it all.
Note on Italy, who will obviously play Switzerland now. That's the first knockout game on Saturday.
That's gonna
Bookies,
be
I'm fairly sure the bookies will make Italy favourites. I'll not be surprised if Switzerland beat them on what I've watched of those two teams so
yeah,
far.
me either. I think that's gonna be a great game to watch actually.
Spalletti changed the system yesterday. So prior to the Albania game, many of us thought it was going to be a back three with DeMarco and Di Lorenzo as wing backs, which is what ended up happening yesterday. Obviously, it was a back four against Albania, but we didn't know if it was just a back four because it was the weakest team per se in the group, and then maybe against a stiffer opposition, it would go to a five. Obviously, it stayed as a four against Spain, and seismic difference really
Yeah,
between the two teams. Yesterday, he switched it up and gone to the back three. He's changed the front line and gone with like two up front in Retiguri and Raspadori. I don't think either of them or Schumacher provide anything that's going to make the likes of a Kanji, Cher, and Rodriguez are strong at the back.
yeah.
They're
There's
not going
not
to
much like
fear it.
individual brilliance there, is there?
No, and other than I mean, I really like Nicolo Barella in
Yeah,
midfield. We know what Jorginho provides, but I don't think there's anything there for Switzerland to truly fear.
no,
And I think it's almost ideal situation for Switzerland where it's like you're playing the big name. Me and Callum spoke about this yesterday. You're playing the big names. You're going to go in as underdogs, but
yeah.
you're right fancy
Pressure's
it.
off. Yeah, I think it's a 50-50 game. I really do.
And let me tell you now, if it does end up with England and Switzerland in a quarter final, yeah, don't be writing them off.
No
I'm
way,
serious.
not at all.
They're a challenge, Switzerland. So Switzerland, Italy will be the opener. And they will play the winner of England's group / a third place team um, in the quarterfinals. So there's every as it wouldn't be the first time Italy have been shy in the group stage and then suddenly really turned up in the knockout stage. I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's
about
worth
peaking at the
acknowledging.
right times, to be fair, in the international
But I
tournament.
think when you look at the quality of the players, like I've really been impressed with Calafiori. The goalkeeper's obviously good. Alessandro Bastoni is a player I've really followed because he was heavily linked with Tottenham a
Yeah.
couple of years ago. Really good centre back. But at the top end, nah, I mean, this is missing. You think of the great Italian number
Like
10s from history that just flow off
Totti's,
the
Del
tongue. And
Piero's, yeah, it's
yeah,
lacking that,
Zola,
isn't it?
Baggio, you keep going. There's no one in this. Yeah, and the one player who I think, largely because of injuries, hasn't really kicked on is Chiesa. This system doesn't really work for him
No.
unless they put him in a front two. So we're taking off the one player who has got that kind of real individual ability to really hurt an opponent one on one, I think. Yeah, interesting. I'm fascinated to see if they'll stick with that with the back three against Switzerland. I suspect they might.
Yeah.
Gorgeous goal, by the way. I
Yeah.
mean, it makes it look
Literally top bins. Great finish.
so easy. Yeah, it's literal near final kick, and we've seen a few of them in this tournament. And I suspect you'll probably see another one over the next 2 days. It's going to
Yeah.
be another dramatic
I
late goal
can't
from somewhere.
shake I just can't shake the Croatia feeling, like literal seconds away from going
But as
through.
I said, you never thought Italy were going to score, really.
No.
So they
How do
looked
you even process that?
pretty comfortable. I mean, it gets worse for Croatia as well. I mean, it's 98th minute here. Go back 4 days, mate. It's 95th
Yeah.
minute goal they conceded to Albania as well.
Yeah. Horrible.
I saw the XG philosophy had posted Croatia's XG over the 3 games was about goals for 7.5 and expected conceded like 4.
No way.
But it does obviously include Croatia have had 2 penalties in there. I mean, Modric actually has ended up with an XG of about 1.15 over the course of his 1 minute because you have to, it's not like penalty save and then rebound. You have to
No, it's a
separate them
different
as
action.
two
Yeah.
different chances. Yeah, you have to. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk England a little bit before we finish off. I'm conscious of obviously the 5 o'clock kickoffs today to keep this one quite short. There's been a lot of talk of what people want to do. Rare, 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 rare. We think it's going to be Gallagher for Trent, and that's it.
Yeah. What's
What's your
your thoughts?
reaction?
Oh, go on, you
No,
go
no,
first.
no, no. I've given mine enough, mate,
Oh,
and
have
I'm
you?
I'm
Okay.
going to put that pressure on you for a
Yeah.
minute.
Okay, fine. I think I even tweeted this. I didn't think Trent in midfield was working, but I also don't think that was the only problem. I didn't watch those two games and think Gallagher was the solution if Trent was to come out of midfield. I think when I watch England in especially in the midfield area, I think we lack someone that can keep the ball, dictate like what your Jorginhos do. I think that's what we're missing more than adding another like workhorse in there. And I don't want to downplay what Gallagher can bring to the squad, but I wouldn't say he's known for his kind of passing and tempo dictating ability. Is he's really hardworking player, makes really good selfish off the ball runs, does the dirty stuff well, but I don't think that's where we're lacking. So I'm personally disappointed. I also said before when I came back after the Serbia game that Trent in midfield is something that I'm happy to try against like Denmark's and Slovenia's in the group. I think we've got such a variety of players available to us that we need to use them in different situations. I don't want Trent in midfield against a Switzerland or like with respect the better teams in the tournament as we go on. But in the group stages, I think it's fine to try it, especially where we're not really creating chances galore, are we? So I'm not over the moon with the choice, but I do think the dynamics in midfield aren't working great. I personally would have gone for a Kobe Mainu or a Wharton is probably my preference, which is a bit bonkers considering Mainu's had more experience this season. But yeah, that's what I would have done personally. That to be honest,
Uh,
no, the unpopular opinion, what I wouldn't have changed a thing. I would have given it one more go.
Play the same team.
Yeah,
He,
that's
he
what I would have
can't. He
done.
can't know, can he? Really? He's got
But
to change something.
why? Like,
So you'd be happy with Trent to go in midfield again?
I wouldn't say I'd be happy. I just like I think it would be okay for one more game. I don't think Gallagher coming in is going to fix the issues we've seen in the first two games. If Trent wasn't to play midfield, I think it should be for one of the other two I mentioned.
I certainly don't sit here and think, right, Gallagher coming in for Trent is going to fix all our problems. Like I
No.
definitely don't. I think it's worth acknowledging, though, what we like about Connor Gallagher. So, rather than just,
Yeah,
oh, we're not happy. Okay, what's the positive? Right. So, spoke about his pre-tournament. That running on that channel to in that right hand side, the ugly runs, he does the simple things. We had this discussion about Wharton versus Gallagher. I said Gallagher's simple things too, as well, which a lot of them are off the ball.
yeah,
That ugly run to right, okay, I'm going to open the space where I draw someone out of midfield that can allow Saka even to come inside. Little things like that. Pressing has been a massive problem,
yeah.
right? That's a real, real strength of Conor Gallagher, unquestionable. I think defensively switched on. The one thing you'd never label about him is he's absolutely, he's going to go and put that shirt on and die for you.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question on that from a commitment perspective. And I think England's commitment's being called into question a little bit at the moment, right? So there's positives in Conor Gallagher, possibly a better partner for Declan Rice. I feel like the real failure though is that doesn't improve the biggest problem, which is us playing
In
out.
possession. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't fix that. Interestingly, I did a piece for advanced tier patrons yesterday, Clayton, where I looked at the Athletic did a piece on Sunday where they had 11 of their writers pick the team that they wanted, not necessarily what they thought
For
Southgate would
tonight.
do, the team that they wanted just for tonight.
Okay.
How many of them 11 do you think put Gallagher in the team?
How many of the writers are there?
It was 11 writers. So 11 different writers. This is from the
I
Athletic.
reckon two, three.
None.
Whoa.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. None surprised me, but bloody, yeah, that is interesting.
So these are definitely unquestionably some of our best journalists
Yeah, yeah.
in the country. None of them think that Gallagher is the solution here for England. I don't either. And I
No.
don't think the
What?
majority of the country does. Now, I really hope it works because I like Conor Gallagher. I think that there's nothing in him to dislike as a player,
No.
unless you just want to judge him just purely on his ball work. And I think, unfortunately, because he's coming in the team for Trent, that is partly what will happen. I also am a little bit concerned that if that's the narrative of what the journalists already feel going into the game, if he doesn't play really well tonight,
He'll be
there
the
is
new
going to be a
scapegoat.
negative judgment just subconsciously that will funnel down to others. And it
Yeah.
will become, well, Gallagher wasn't the solution either. Like I can already see that scenario playing out tonight.
It is getting incredibly toxic though. Like it's why can't it just be constructive criticism that stuff isn't working? It's almost gone. So like
Because
Trent's
it's
becoming a scapegoat.
hyperbole as well. It's
Yeah.
there's no right. Let's forget about Tottenham's problems for a minute and let's focus on what's happening at Manchester United for 5 minutes. There's nothing. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Oh, Scotland are out. Great, right? Back to England. That's what it is, isn't it? Oh,
Yeah.
Croatia out. Right, back to England. That's what this is. No one wants to go and have that detailed inspection in here in our country of or what went wrong for Croatia. Well, partly that there's Spain were in their group is one very good reason,
Yeah.
and we don't have that sort of problem. Okay, so everything with England is always going to be magnified so much over because all of us are focusing on the same thing. And all of us want somewhere in between two things for England. One is the result, two is the performance.
Yeah. I think because of the group of players we've got, I think this is where like the constructive criticism thing comes in. I think it's completely fair to say with the group of players we can be expecting better
Well,
than
that's
this.
it.
But then
Of
there's a way
course.
to go about communicating that, and that's where I say the word toxic's coming in. Like,
No, but we all can agree with that, right? We
yeah,
all think England can and should do better than what we watched so far. And that's not even from a result perspective,
no,
because
it's
the reality is the 4 points from the two games is fine.
yeah,
It's fine. We've been over this so many times over. Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia in their first game in the last World Cup and won the tournament. We've mentioned Portugal 2016 several times over. There's also the Italy example from the last Euros. They won their first three games. It doesn't matter too much. It's just
yeah,
what you do when you hit the knockouts. The 4 points, if you'd have said to me before Serbia, England take 4 points in these two games, that's great because
yeah,
that's definitely going to put us in position where we should win this group.
yeah,
Fine. Happy with that. But we all expect much better than what we're watching. And it's not, as I've spoken about already following the Denmark game, it already feels like the build of the country in terms of how we're playing. Like we can, I think football fans are becoming way more knowledgeable,
yeah,
just generally.
yeah.
I don't know if that's the bubble that we work in terms of
Possibly.
creation and stuff like that, and the people we associate with because of that. But I just feel like the average football fan is becoming way more informed. They understand. The majority of fans won't just go, "Oh, well, they had more chances than them."
No, they'll
You know,
actually look in
we're
detail at
judging it now,
yeah.
and we're going, right. Well, why can't England play out from the back and the right?
That's why sorry, go on.
I was going to say the conclusion I've come to, which I know Gareth isn't going to do, and I mean we pretty much know, well, we think we know that Gallagher's going to play. The conclusion I come to was that I would play Wharton.
Yeah.
Um, and actually, similar to you, that I wouldn't change anything else. I thought a lot about Saka in this left back role, which I spoke about a lot pre-tournament. I know so many people don't like it, and I understand that completely. But it does feel like, well, if you have him shoved outside, you can have Foden do his thing. Saka there is just way more natural. I
Yeah.
don't think you'd want Anthony Gordon playing left back as a starting point, but we know that Saka can do it. And then it allows you to put Bowen or Palmer in the team as well at the same time. And I also think it's clear to me that if Luke Shaw is going to be back available, that England are going to play this way.
Yeah.
So I thought about, I'm going to change it because I'm playing Slovenia and then Luke Shaw might be available and we change back. Well, no, we're probably,
You want to keep it as
people
consistent
might
as you
not
can.
like it, but actually, I think that's what he's going to do. So therefore, probably stick with it.
Yeah.
The default for Gareth, if he's really hating what happens here, is to go to wing backs.
Mm.
But he's not going to do that at the moment. He
No.
might, if we're blessed to hit a semi-final against France or something, sure. At the moment, he's not going to do that. So I thought, well, let's say Luke Shaw was back even for the quarterfinals. Do you want to put Saka into say left back? Only to then what? Say Palmer comes in on the right as an example and smashes it for 2 games. Then
Yeah,
what?
then what do
You
you
not
do?
play. Is it
Yeah.
fair on Saka? Saka's going out of position for you 2 games, and then what? You're going to take him out of the team? I don't want to take Phil Foden out of the team. I looked at so many options and I just don't. I just
No.
don't. So maybe that is a square pegs round holes kind of problem. But I think the conclusion I come with Wharton was also thinking about what's to come afterwards and the way the draw's beginning to unfold. So if I said to you now, England will get really dominated from a possession perspective in this tournament against any team, irrespective of draw. What nations come to mind to you?
Spain,
Yeah,
Italy, perhaps. Like I don't know.
not having that one.
No, Germany's the obvious one that
Yeah,
comes to mind.
yeah.
I wouldn't France, I'm not sure possession wise.
Mm. They're happy to give it up, mate.
Yeah.
I think, yeah,
I think it's
Spain,
Germany, Spain.
and I'd throw Portugal in there as well.
Good shout. They
Now,
escaped my mind.
now,
Yeah.
if we win the group, we can't play any of them 3 teams till the final.
Yeah.
So there's every chance along this path that we're going to have more of the ball than maybe we think we are, or maybe are even comfortable with. As much as like I really think if we get Austria in the last 16, I think that is extremely dangerous. We've already said I think Switzerland in a quarterfinal, even if it was them rather than Italy, is extremely dangerous. We might be sitting here this time tomorrow and looking forward to a game against the Netherlands, possibly even.
That's why though, when I hear you mention those nations, that's why a Wharton for me makes so much more sense.
But
It's
exactly, even with all those concerns, even against like the Netherlands, I think we have more of the ball. I think
yeah,
we
me
control
too.
the game because I think these teams will be happy to let us do our thing and also press into us. So how we play out, if you look at how Switzerland pressed against Germany, you look at the strength of how Austria have pressed. Oh my God, we've got to be better with how we play out here. And for me, that does 2 real key things. One is composed on the ball. Yes, he's inexperienced, but you can play it into him and trust him.
Yeah.
He also has spoken about this before with when he's played for Palace, and obviously after the appearance against Bosnia. He controls the tempo of a football match by the way he passes the football. So if
Yeah.
England are struggling for tempo, the way he passes to someone sends
Would punch
messages
it a bit. Yep.
quicker, quicker, quicker. And that's despite the fact he's a young, inexperienced player.
And
Also, if you put him in the team rather than a Gallagher or a Mino, I think you can let Declan go a little bit
that's
at
the thing.
times.
I do
So
think,
you're getting
yeah,
more out of Rice as well.
yeah, big time. Like, I do find the conversation around because obviously, as an Arsenal fan, I watched him a lot this season, and I wouldn't say ball progression via passing through the lines is his strength at all. And I don't think he dictates the tempo of a game through his pass selection either. But that's again, like you wouldn't ask Kante to go and do that. I think you're kind of asking him to be something that he's not sometimes. And that's why I think Wharton would be the perfect partner for him. And similarly, what you said about Wharton, I think where he can speed up the tempo, I think he's got the ability to slow it down as well and kind of be smart with his pass selection when you need it and stuff. So I think my thing with Trent coming back to that is I think he's much better when he arrives in central areas rather than being fixated there the whole game. I think he's always looking to kind of play that, I don't want to say Hollywood pass, but the kind of the real clear, like I'm going to split that defense. And
No, he
you
does
don't,
want to play the Hollywood pass. I
yeah,
mean,
but you don't need that all the time, right? So, and I think that's
no,
why,
but the thing is, I mentioned obviously those 11 teams picked by the Athletic Writers. I looked at all of them, and there's pros and cons to all of them. So one idea would be right. So let's have like Trent as a wing back in front of Walker and play Saka slash Gordon left wing back, or have that ready for sure when he's back available. The problem I see for Trent at right wing back, it sounds great in principle. Oh, he'll get to the line
who's
and
he
all that.
pinging it to?
Yeah, but who's in front of him? He's used to having
Yeah,
bloody Mo Salah in front of him
yeah,
in that area. So now and he looks up in the channel. Oh, I'm asking Kane to break his neck. No, he's not, is he? Harry
yeah.
Kane's not going to
Saka's
be
the only
that
one
player.
so far, I think, that
So
is going in behind and
there's
Bellingham,
so many
obviously.
pros and cons. I'm kind of reluctant to speak about Wharton in the way I have because I also know this isn't happening.
Yeah, same.
But I feel stronger on a conclusion that that's the right solution than I did on Friday, where genuinely on Friday I was like, I don't know how to fix this.
Well, interesting. Whereas that was my first reaction. Like for me, it was crystal clear. Like if there was one change I could make and like put money on it, that would be the one. Like I was clear on that once kind of watched the game.
I hope, in conclusion, I hope Connor Gallagher has an absolute stormer tonight.
Yeah,
And I
of
hope
course.
that we sit here tomorrow morning and go, great, play again with Gallagher. I really hope that's what happens. He's a likable player. I hope it goes really well. He'll pull on the shirt and he'll try. And another interesting thing on Gallagher, though, he's the only England player that's been booked so far. Um, so I mean, it's not beyond that he comes in the team, looks great, is the
Get suspended.
solution, and then Gareth's got to find a different solution as well. Anyway, give us a prediction for tonight, mate.
I'm going for the same I said last week. I 1-0 again. I know I got it wrong against Denmark and it was 1-1, but I'm going 1-0 again tonight. Uh don't think it's gonna be an amazing performance, but it would be job done, I think. What about you?
No, um, I think we'll win. I think I'll go for 2-0. I think Belgium, ironically, set the blueprint of how England should start a football match tonight because the people just need to see something. I think at the start, set that tempo off the ball. They've obviously got one or two dangerous players. Benjamin Sesko is doubtful, but the manager said, "Oh, we'll assess him." And I'm thinking, what are you going to do? Wait for the next game when you might be out? No,
Yeah.
he's going to play, isn't he? So we know there's definite threat out there. I think the other preempty consciousness for people tonight will be if it does go really well for England tonight, consider reasons why. And one of the reasons might well be because of how Slovenia play. It might also be why we struggle. But many of the teams we're gonna face, or at least have faced so far, has obviously been back phrase. We are near certain that Slovenia will play a 4-4-2 tonight and don't play like any other team in this tournament
Yeah.
with the way they do it. They will be quite direct with balls up over the top. I'm not talking about just knocking it long for a big man. I'm talking about runners in behind into channels. They will try and turn England. That's their biggest threat of how they'll play out. But it's a strategic battle that we're not going to face again.
Yeah.
So, if we win 5-0 tonight, it ain't solutions fixed because we might
No.
be playing a back three in the
It's a
last
unique
16
opponent.
and we need to find different solutions. It might be that it works quite nicely for us. What we'll need to do, because their midfield four goes really narrow, we need to get side to side. We've got to do it quicker.
Sure.
Got to do it quicker. That's the big thing tonight.
So the irony is Trent could have worked.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one's sitting in, oh, Trent's a shit player. No one
No, no, no.
feels like
I'm
that,
just, it
right?
was when you said like we've got to get it out to the sides quicker. I'm like, oh,
And
okay.
I think
Got best passer.
someone said, called it spot on. I was listening to as well, was like, no one didn't want Trent in midfield to work. We all wanted it to
No, yeah, of
work,
course.
but we all, all looked at it and gone, I don't think
Yeah.
it's
You can
right.
like,
But
yeah.
yes, also, yeah, maybe the pressure on the ball would have, you might well find it would have had more time tonight, ironically.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
I think
possible.
my biggest concern, not to go on too much longer, is just it doesn't look like the players tactically know what they're doing in all phases. I think that's the biggest concern for me. Like you see a little bit of confusion when someone drops deep and we go long, and then the reverse, and when like a player out wide's in position and players haven't really caught up and the spacing's a bit off. And I think they're the subtle things that concern me a bit more than the actual fixating on who's playing where. Like at a higher tactical level, that's more of my
You know what we should all go
conservatism.
and do? We should all go back and listen to the podcast that probably Suj and I recorded. Firstly, after we drew with USA, and then secondly, after we drew with Scotland, and see if it's any different in our minds. Because it's all. I'm fairly sure we was having these same conversations.
Possibly, yeah. But
Let's
then,
see. Let's see. If you're English, get behind the boys tonight
yeah,
as well. Clayton will be back with me tomorrow to review that, of course. If you're playing Euro Fantasy, don't forget to change your captain if you want to, and don't forget to make your subs if you need to as well. Other than that, season me say, cheers, Clates. Come on, England, cue music, please, man child.